What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be unboxing one of the newest Daron model releases, as well as one of the newest airline additions to the Daron model family, and that is the Avelo Airlines Boeing 737 single plane. So this is a model that I would definitely say is one of the most major releases for the Daron company in the past couple years, because it is the first of several different things. Starting off with the first reason, that it is the first completely new airline release to be entirely made only by Daron, meaning that there is not a single Avelo Airlines 737 model that has been produced by Realtoy, and if there is, it is only a prototype or a sample model from when the model was first originally being announced and kind of designed to be eventually released. This model was first announced as a new type of Daron model in January of 2024, along with the Caribbean Airlines new livery 737 and the new livery Emirates A380, which the Caribbean Airlines 737 is currently available now and has been released, but the Emirates A380 still has not been released yet due to what I believe is certain licensing things between the Daron company and the airline, but I don't need to get into that for this video. But anyway, another thing about the Avelo Airlines 737 is that it is the newest airline to the Daron family in two different ways. The first way is that it is the newest type of airline that Daron has been producing, meaning that there is not as any Avelo Airlines 737 that has been produced in the past. This is the very first one to be released by the company, and the fact that Avelo Airlines is actually the newest airline that Daron is producing, because Avelo Airlines had just started operations in 2021. So really, in two different ways, this model is actually the newest type of airline addition to the Daron model family. So there isn't a whole lot of other information about the specific model because it is so new, and the fact that the airline is not that old either. The model itself, it is available only as a single plane as of right now. I could definitely see this model being eventually sold as a small airport playset or even a normal airport playset. The model is currently almost fully painted. The entire fuselage is fully painted, but I could tell while looking at here that the tail is still a sticker, which I think is the case for most of the new releases and most of the currently produced Daron models. This model unfortunately does not have a real registration number, so I cannot kind of give any information about a real aircraft that it would be based off of, but it does have the American flag for the nationality of the airline itself. So Avelo Airlines does actually have a little bit of history behind the airline itself, even though it is really new. Surprisingly, when I was researching before this video about the Avelo Airlines to see if they had any history behind it, I actually did find out some pretty interesting information about the airline that I'm not sure many people even realized. So Avelo Airlines is an American ultra low-cost airline that is currently based in Houston, Texas. And the airline actually dates all the way back to 1987, when it was first founded, July 20th, 1987, as Casino Express Airlines. All of this is pretty much just the same general company that has rebranded over the years, but Casino Express Airlines was a very small charter airline, and it flew several aircraft, most of them being just the 737-200s. I'm not completely sure on how many they had in their fleet, but that airline lasted for 18 years until rebranding as Extra Airways, another charter airline, on December 8th of 2005. And that airline also had a very small fleet of 737-400s, and that lasted until 15 and a half years later when they rebranded again, becoming the current Avelo Airlines. But the interesting thing about the Extra Airways rebranding to Avelo is that it was a very major rebranding, because Extra Airways was a very small charter airline with completely different company titles and logo designs, colors, and everything. And when they rebranded to Avelo, they were rebranding from a charter airline to an ultra low-cost airline that now has a fleet of 20 aircraft and 5 to 50 destinations. So in a way, the company itself is pretty much the same between all three of these airlines, but the rebranding from Extra to Avelo was so major for the airline that honestly, I won't even really consider it to be the same type of company together. But Avelo Airlines was officially rebranded on April 8th, 2021, and they officially started operations on April 28th of that same year. Avelo Airlines has since widely grown in the past over 3 years and has actually become one of the most popular airlines in the US. They currently have a fleet of 20 aircraft, with 8 being 737-700s and 12 being 737-800s, and fly to 50 destinations, and they are currently adding on to those destinations as well. As the months and years progress, the airline is still actively growing. So, although I have not actually seen an Avelo Airlines aircraft in person yet, they are about to open an operating base in one of my home airports, Charlotte Concord or Concord Regional Airport. So I will have to go down there eventually and see some of these fly in. The airline is currently flying there, but I don't think they do have a base there yet, and they will be opening some more destinations in the future. So as for where to purchase this model from, it is currently one of the very common Daron models, so it can be purchased off of pretty much any website that sells the Daron models, such as Amazon, eBay, Airplane Shop, or the Daron website. I personally had gotten mine off of eBay in December for Christmas, so I only do have one. I do not have an extra one. I might end up getting another one in the future, but for me personally, I'm not too keen on getting the new Daron models. I only got this one because it is a completely new release for Avelo Airlines. It is a US airline, and one that I will eventually be seeing probably quite a while if I'm at Concord Regional. So I just wanted to get this model since it is a completely new release, but I do not plan on getting any of the new Realtoy transitioned into Daron produced models, such as the Southwest 737s, for example. I do not plan on getting the Daron produced ones of those, just because I don't like how their new way of producing them are, and I just like the Realtoy ones a lot better. But I do plan on getting the new releases, such as the Caribbean Airlines 737. I do not have that as of the time of posting this video. I do not have the new Caribbean Airlines 737 in my collection yet, but I definitely do plan on getting that one in the future. So when I got this off of eBay, I think it was for around $15 or so. So definitely a great price, and you definitely gotta look around between websites to see where to get one for a more cheaper price. So I think eBay is definitely one of the best options for that. But that pretty much is all the information and history behind the model. I mean, not really much for history because there isn't a whole lot, but pretty much all the information for the model itself, production information, and the airline. So now getting into the box review for the model. One of my favorite things about the Avelo Airlines branding is the color that they chose. So as you can see, the entire box is in the purple coloring, which I thought was a really interesting choice for the airline to use as their main color, because purple is definitely not a very common color to see on airlines, especially in the US. I don't think there's any US airline that has purple, that currently has, or maybe even in the past has had purple as their main color of branding. So I just think that was really interesting how Avelo chose purple as their main color, and honestly, I think it looks really nice. Avelo Airlines does have a really nice livery design, in my opinion. It's not too, what you would say, classy, but definitely is not, does not look very cheap as it is for being a low-cost airline. So I just think the Avelo Airlines livery design is really nice, and I do like their logo as well. It is completely different from what their other previous brandings were for Casino Express Airlines and Extra Airways, which was another interesting thing for the rebranding, how they kind of scrapped their entire previous history for it. But so up at the top of the box, there is the Avelo Airlines logo with an all lowercase font, and I do like an interesting font for it, how it's just very circular. With you can see the V it's not very like pointy as it would be for most basic font designs. So the top has the warning label on the top right, and then you see the H thing up there as well. The logo in the light blue, white, and then the yellow in the right-hand side. And the die-cast metal plain up listed on the top as well. And the front has the Avelo Airlines logo again, and once again the entire box is in purple as well, and you can see the Avelo Airlines logo on each side. One of the things I actually do not like about the box is the placement they had for the unthreaded details, die-cast metal, and plastic parts. One of the closest models I have is the Jet 2 737, one of the extra ones I had gotten, and this is the closest one I can pretty much have to compare it to. As you can see, the bottom pretty much has the same exact information on it, except the Jet 2 737 has the details listed more spaced out and covers a lot more space than it is on the Avelo Airlines one. And the Jet 2 one also is a Daron produced model. It is not Realtoy produced, so it's not like Daron changed up the design at all. I'm just not sure why they made it so small. I definitely think it would have looked a lot better if they had spaced it out a lot more, because it definitely kind of looks more incomplete like that. But moving on from that, you can see there is the Daron logo in the bottom left-hand corner, and then the Avelo Airlines, I guess, metal plane, pretty much the same thing on the top, and then the logo on the right-hand side listed on the bottom. Going towards the back, I also do like the box art image on this plane, and this is actually pretty much the same box art that's on a lot of single plane models, but I definitely think the background contrasts a lot better with the purple, because I have the sunset there, and they do have some different background designs behind the plane for the sky on certain types of single plane models, but I definitely think this one definitely contrasts a lot more nicely with the main color for the box than on some other models. So you see there is the H thing again, and then the Avelo Airlines logo, diecast metal plane, nothing to detail, diecast metal plastic parts with the Avelo 737-800. Then there is all the other information and details there, licensing, the Daron logo, and the item number in the bottom left-hand corner. And then this is a newer thing that they had added on the Daron planes for the Daron single plane models and playsets in the past couple years, which is their hashtag Daron planes and at Daron planes for their social media type contact. You see here, I think this is definitely something that's going to be on all of the new types of branding, is the copyright 2024 Daron Worldwide Training, which is when Daron, I think last year was when Daron actually did their full rebranding. I'm still not sure if Realtoy did go into business or if Daron took them over, but either way, Daron is now producing these planes. Any plane that has the 2024 manufacturing date is most likely going to be a Daron model. There are some Realtoys that were still made in 2024, but most of them with the 2024 manufacturing date are still going to be Daron. If you're looking for a model and hoping that it's Realtoy, definitely look for one that has a 2022 or older type date on it. But manufacturing date for this one is August 20th of 2024. And then you see there another thing that you can tell. Biggest factor you can tell if it is a Daron model is that it's going to say it is made in Vietnam rather than made in China. All Realtoy models were made in China, while the new Daron ones are currently being produced in Vietnam. So that pretty much is all the box review and other part history information for this model. So like usual, I will pause the video real quick and take out the plane. So halfway through the unboxing, I have the plane out of the box, but still on the cardboard piece. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in any previous videos, but whenever you're taking your planes out of the boxes, I always highly recommend take them out through the bottom portion of the box, just so that way when closing the box back up and stuff, you don't have to damage anything, and when you're opening it, none of the top portion of the box, which is where all the detail is, like the tape and stuff, gets slit. Because then I do have in some of my other boxes, when I would open it from the top, even though that does seem like the most designated spot to open it, when you are trying to put your fingers through the gap in here and take out the cardboard flap, it does end up damaging it a little bit, and then kind of makes it a little distorted, and ultimately ends up damaging it, and then can also end up ripping the back portion of this off. So even though when usually people start first originally collecting the Daron and Realtoy models, usually people just care about the plane and not the box, but definitely as you get further into collecting Realtoys, it is very important to take care of the boxes of the planes, because believe it or not, they actually are a major part of the model, especially for single planes. For playsets, they still are, but for playsets, you also have things like vehicles and signs that make them have a little bit more character to those. But definitely for single planes, be sure to take care of your boxes, because they are a lot easier to damage. Which is why I always now recommend opening them up from the bottom. And also, since there's only one piece of tape to slit, and since the box usually sits like this, you don't end up noticing any damage that there would be to it. So always just try to be careful in there. I mean, you could see on the inside that it does get a little distorted when you do try to open it, but overall, I definitely highly recommend opening it from the bottom, just so that way it limits how much damage will get on the box. But planes for this one just sits pretty much flat on the box, which usually sometimes they're more slanted upwards in the takeoff position, but the Avelo one, I'm not sure if all the Avelo ones are like this, but at least the one I have is pretty much just sitting flat on the cardboard piece and not in any takeoff position like they usually are, but it is in there pretty nicely. And I also can tell that there doesn't seem to be any sort of ink markings left, or any smudged ink from the plane that is there from the plastic strap that is tying the plane down, because I have noticed this in other models I've seen in person, like when I recently went to the Sullenberger Aviation Museum, that is now selling a good portion of the Daron models in there. I was able to look at a few of those models, and lots of them had a lot of manufacturing errors, with the most common thing being this plastic strap smudging against the plane while the paint is probably still wet. I'm not sure why their planes are being put in the boxes that early, but because of that, it's smudging the ink and making all of this around the plastic strap very distorted. And you definitely have to be careful with buying planes. And unfortunately, for collectors who really do care a lot about the condition of the planes that they're getting, unfortunately now it does seem like it's much more not going to be guaranteed that even if your plane is new condition, it still could have a good amount of damage to it, which is definitely not good for this new Daron quality, and drastically lowers the quality of the Daron planes. But fortunately, this one does not seem to be too bad, but you definitely have to be on the lookout for that. I can already see right now there are some issues, some manufacturing issues between the paint and stuff. The most major one being these paint bubbles here on the back that I could tell the second that I had gotten this plane 2 months ago. So moving on to the full model review, here is the Daron Avelo Airlines Boeing 737. So while taking the plane out of the box, I already did notice several issues with the model, which is honestly, I'm just going to get straight to the point for this. It is pretty disappointing. Starting off with the cockpit windows, these ones, the every average 737 cockpit windows, these ones are crooked, which is actually becoming a lot more common on the Daron planes that I'm noticing. These ones aren't as bad as some other ones that I have, which the other ones are actually on some older models. As for this model, this one, the cockpit windows, they definitely are noticeable for being crooked, but they could be worse. And honestly, considering I have so many models like this, and I do have ones that are worse, it's really not that bad. But yeah, 737 cockpit windows, and then moving on, behind that, there is the first main cabin door. And behind that is where the Avelo Airlines writing pretty much starts. So for the print on the plane for the airline logo and the windows, the fully painted portion of the plane is actually reminds me a lot of the aviation models for their print. If you can look closely, you can see in the reflection light of the light here that it has that like grainy looking texture to it, which is pretty much just part of the print that they have, and they've definitely changed their way of printing the models on and painting them. They are no longer just the basic coloring that it is like you see here on the back for the purple. It's no longer like that, and they have this odd texture to it, which really is not too bad. But I'm gonna be completely honest. I think that the whole point of this texture is just to try to make it more durable to withstand the fact that the plastic strap holding it down is going to rub against it and try smudging it off, which I thought it was fine when I was looking at the plane through the box, but when I'm taking it out and I was just about to start filming, I noticed that I can actually see it in the reflection. You can't see it too well from what I can see from the camera, but in person it's a lot more noticeable. Right where the V is and the Avelo logo is, you can see kind of in the reflection of the light. You could see two different lines there for where the plastic strap was, and that is permanently placed on there. There's like, I can't get that off at all. It is permanently engraved into the paint. So the fortunate thing is that it really isn't too noticeable unless you hold it up to a light like this, and it definitely could be a lot worse like on some other models that I have seen. But I don't understand what exactly Daron is doing with the production to make it have that effect to it, because they never used to do that on any other older planes before, and it just seems really odd how all of a sudden they're having all of these issues to it. And I also hate how The price for the Daron planes seem to be going up, but the quality seems to be going down, and I definitely do not like that with these new Daron models. I'm saying that specifically in hopes that somebody from the company will see this video, because I honestly am not too happy with the new form of production for these planes. Overall, I'm really happy that they have introduced the Avelo Airlines model, and as for it to be produced as a toy, it actually is really nice, and overall does have a lot of great detail to it. I just do not care for the actual way of production for this model. But overall, the detail is really good, and I do really like the way that they designed it, and I also do think if they did make this interesting texture for the printed portion to be more durable, I definitely do think that is a good idea and was a great decision by the company to do that. But overall, the plane is still still nicely detailed, and I do like how most of it is fully painted now. I just do not care for the way of production for part of the planes and how the price is going up, but the quality seems to be going down. But anyway, moving on from all that, from the rant about the Daron production. So, see there, the Avelo Airlines logo. Something else I like about the livery design is that the logo is not just very tiny and placed above the windows. It fills up a nice large portion of the front section of the plane, which, even though it's a very short word, it does cover up a lot of space on the front portion of the fuselage. So I also like the font. I think I mentioned that before, how just it's very curved and round compared to having more sharp edges like what most basic fonts have on airlines. I really think that the Avelo Airlines did a great job with designing this livery, and it definitely, for being a ultra low-cost airline, it honestly does not say that to me when I see the livery design, such as Spirit's livery. Spirit's livery definitely says low-cost airline when I see that, but I think Avelo Airlines definitely did a good job with designing it to make it look not too classy, but just good enough to where it doesn't seem just like a very cheap airline. So, see, the purple is in, darker purple is in the Avelo Airlines logo, and then you have the same purple coloring on the back of the plane as you have on the engines. For all, the engines are pretty okay. There's nothing wrong with them. For the detail and design on the insides for the cowlings, I still like how Daron does make those to have the nice detail in the engine cowlings. Like I mentioned before, this model does not have a real registration number, but it does have the American flag, so you know what the nationality is of the airline. Because I'm going to be completely honest, if this did not have the American flag and I did not know this airline existed, I probably would think this airline is from somewhere over in Europe. Yeah, right behind the American flag is the rear cabin door, pretty much cutting right between where the white meets the purple. And then you have the purple coloring going all along from the top of the tail all the way down through the undercarriage. So the back portion has the Avelo Airlines logo with the light blue going into the white and then the yellow, the nice cool ring design there, and then the Avelo Airlines logo and the smaller writing on the bottom portion of the tail as well. I think I also mentioned this before, the tail with the purple portion of the design is a sticker and is not painted onto the aircraft. I think you can kind of tell based on the fact that it's a little bit more reflective and the purple does seem to be a little bit darker, but overall it honestly isn't too noticeable, especially when it's inside of the box. One thing here, I think there is a small paint chip on the bottom, which I do not think this is from the plastic strap that is on the plane, but it was just kind of there as part of the manufacturing thing. And then going on to the right hand portion, this is where there are the small paint bubbles on the plane. Like, it's not too bad. I do have some that are worse, but these ones are not too bad, and it just sometimes happens within the production of it. So moving on to the undercarriage, you can see on the main landing gear there is the new Daron logo with the model stand hole. One thing I did also like better about the Realtoy ones is that the Realtoy logo covered the entire portion. The Daron one just really small. I think it could have been cool if they put the model stand hole where the O is for the Daron writing. But you can see there the new Daron logo with the Made in Vietnam right underneath that. And then on the horizontal stabilizers is the manufacturing date, which again is August 20th, 2024. So the nose landing gear is really sturdy, not wobbly at all, which is definitely really good. But yeah, so that pretty much is the entire review for the plane. Really simple model between since it does not have a real registration number, although I do think that would have been cool if it had a real one, since Avelo Airlines does have 12 737-800s I think they could have based it off of. They also could have made it as 737-700, which the main thing for Realtoy models, at least, when a 737 you could tell was a -700 version, was either if it had a registration number, or the main thing you could tell is if it had painted winglets. I'm not really sure why that was a specific factor in it, but just for every 737 that Realtoy had produced and Daron distributed, the winglets were always painted for the -700 models. So if they're not painted, then it most likely is going to be a -800, and that is the main overall mold for the models. So pretty much is the entire review portion of this model for this video. Like I kept mentioning before about the new Daron planes, I'm just honestly not too much of a fan of the production. I do really like how they're trying to have more efforts in the releases of newer models, such as their introduction of a Southwest Airlines Freedom 1 737, which several years ago that would have been a really major thing for the company, but I just honestly think they introduced that too late, because now there's all the knockoff Daron producers that are making their own versions of it and already have several different Freedom 1 737s out there. And honestly, by looking at some of the pictures I saw from the Daron ones, it's going to have a lot of problems with this plastic strap, and that's something, one of the main things Daron needs to fix is this issue right here with the plastic strap and having and scratching up the planes, because if that's what every single plane is going to be, then I'm definitely not going to try and buy a large portion of the new Daron planes. So, but that pretty much is everything for this entire video, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments if you have this model yet and what you think of it, and also what you think of the new Daron planes, if you really like them, or if you also have the same opinions on it that I do. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.